From their humble beginnings on a cattle station in the Kimberley of Western Australia, Ringers Western's inspiration comes from their roots. Ringers pride their brand on being tough, adaptable, sometimes cheeky, but always offers you class and loyalty. These principles, along with a high standard of design and quality, set Ringers Western way ahead of the mob. Personally, 3/4 of my wardrobe is Ringers and the majority are their jackets. With winter coming soon, head to ringerswestern.com to check out the range and get yours today. We are back with another episode of Reminisce with Jaidyn. We're very lucky today to be joined by Oscar Ledlin. He's the founder of Ledlin Developments. You also do Ledlin Build. You're also a co-founder of Let's G Up, the new vodka mixer drink. Thank you for coming on.
Jaidyn, pleasure to be here, mate. Thank you for having me.
We met maybe 2-3 years ago at a boxing event. We were sitting there ringside and I think I might have been sitting next to you actually, and obviously got to know each other that night, and then I followed you on Instagram and I see all your stuff. You're very vocal on posting what you're doing, where you're going, all that sort of stuff.
A loud mouth, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great to see. And through that, I've just recently bought one of your factories off you. How did you get started in the development business?
Yeah, mate, it's I was actually thinking about this just recently. It's been a very long journey now, but I started, would you believe it or not, as a concreter's labourer. My dad was a concreter, so I worked part-time for him on job sites through high school, on weekends, stuff like that. And then I went off and did a business degree, continued working for him, concreting, and a couple other part-time jobs while I finished my degree. Then at the end of my degree, my dad said, you make a great concreter. Do you want to get, stuck into this seriously? And I said, Dad, I appreciate everything you've done for me, but I'm going another direction. I'm going to be a property developer. So I'd scouted a little 2-lot block that I'd found in my local area when I was running, because I was boxing professionally at the time and doing a lot of running. So I went into the bank and I'd saved up a deposit working for my old man and these other part-time jobs. Went into the bank, nearly slapped the money on the table and said, I'm here to buy this block and be a developer. And the lovely bank manager politely told me that I couldn't show what I now know is called serviceability, which I had the deposit for the block of land, but because my income was part-time, very sporadic, I couldn't show serviceability. So I said, oh, what do I do? And she said, you got to come up with another way. So I was like, all right, I'll come up with something. I went back, and that afternoon I registered Ledlin Developments Proprietary Limited online.
That
afternoon. I just went online. I was like, how do I register a company? And it was $600, did it online. I was like, I'm a businessman now. So I went back the next day and I was like, I'll speak to the business banking manager today. It was actually the same chick. It was only a small branch. So she sat down and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm here to borrow some money. And she's like, I already told you. I'm like, no, I want a business loan now because I'm a business. And she said, you've got a 24-hour-old company, no trading history, no references. You can't borrow money in your business. And I was like, shit, what am I going to do? And she's like, do you have somebody who can go guarantor on your loan? I was like, what does that mean? She's like, somebody who can show serviceability. I was like, not really. So I went back and I had a chat to my old man. I was like, listen, I've got the deposit. This is what I want to do. You can show you've got income. You've got consistent income. Do you want to partner up? And he was like, look, I'll partner with you, but on the proviso that we do something commercial, because commercial jobs have more concrete than residential, and I can pour the concrete, And I was like,
so if you're going to make money, he's
exactly. He was like, we'll get it cheaper and all that sort of stuff. So
that's a fair trade-off.
That was the segue out of residential into commercial. And 10 years later, we are purely a commercial developer. So we specialize in commercial property. We don't do any residential. And if it wasn't for that little pivot, it could have gone a whole different way.
It's amazing the support our parents can give us and lead us in the right direction. I was very fortunate the same. When I bought my first house, I was looking at like the $1.5 million range and found a nice place. Thought, yeah, this is the one. And then the property I ended up buying came on the market for 1.65, and I'm like, I'm going to be like $18,000 short here, like for the extra deposit.
Yeah.
And I said to mum and dad, I was like, I love this house, and they put in an extra $17,000 or whatever it was I needed. I was able to pay that back off real quick. But the support they give to let us live our dreams and live the life we want to live is just amazing.
Yeah.
You've obviously had that support.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've definitely had that support. At the time when I started Ledlin, my parents had actually just separated. So whatever asset they had before the separation, they had to sell and split in half. So there wasn't a lot of cash available at the time from my dad's end, but he did have, trading history of his small business for a long time, which definitely helped. And he had a lot of experience in the construction industry. And I never would have got the start I had if I didn't have him sort of looking over my shoulder saying, I know a bit more about this, or I can introduce you to someone there or something like that. So yeah, definitely grateful for that.
You're about 22, 23 at this time when you're getting started.
Yeah.
It's amazing for such a young person to have that drive, and not only the drive but the knowledge to do something like this. It's quite a risk. Like, developing is risky. Is it something that you've always had where you were trying to make little entrepreneurial businesses at school, selling chocolates, that sort of stuff? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was. I did, the lemonade stand, and I had my first part-time job when I was 12, working in a local Thai restaurant, getting paid $10 an hour cash, which was actually incredibly...
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was really, really good back then. I still remember putting my hand in the bottom of the sink and the rice and stuff. It was not a glamorous job, but I was always hungry to progress through all avenues of my life, be it whether it was sporting or, I wasn't a great student in terms of behaviour at school, but I was pretty academic. I got good grades. Teachers didn't like me, but I got good grades and I was pretty focused. But and then the second I was able to start pursuing income, I was out there hustling as much as I could.
And obviously, Ledlin Developments has gone a long way since then. We'll come back to that. You touched on your professional boxing for a little bit. How did you get into that line of sport, I suppose?
To be honest, it was probably inspired by my old man again. He always had a bit of a home gym and a boxing bag set up in the gym, and he had a few amateur fights when he was younger. So from 8 years old, I always had a spare pair of gloves in the garage, and he would show me a few things, and would do some light sparring together and stuff like that. And once I was sort of 12, 13, old enough to decide what I wanted to do, I found myself wanting to get into the boxing, and that just progressed over about a 10-year span till when I turned 18, went professional, had a few really good fights, a couple of state titles. So I think it was a great experience, and I think particularly that I think any sport at a high level teaches you a lot about yourself. But I think particularly combat sports, to get in the ring in front of people and your main objective and your opponent's main objective is to render you unconscious. I think it's confidence building, that's for sure.
And what was the height you got to? What was your biggest fight? I mean, I've looked at a few fights on YouTube, and like, you can seriously fight. You're sitting in there with your scarf on and the hair all well done, but you could seriously box in that ring. What was the highlight of your boxing career?
I mean, I was Victorian champion of 2 weight divisions at once. That was probably the peak of my career, and that was when I called it quits. I sort of finished on top, which not a lot of boxers do. And for the first few years after I retired, I kept looking over my shoulder, being like, "Do I want to give it another crack?" But I had some great fights, and one was with a guy called Joel Camilleri, and we're still mates. But Joel, he was one of those real loudmouth fighters. A great guy, but he knew how to promote. He had a YouTube channel 10 years ago or even longer, and he was always building hype for fights. So when our fight was coming up, he was posting on social media about how he's going to just massively, and I had a big following, and so did he. So we brought about 300 or 400 people together to this fight, and I think there was about 2,000 in the stadium. And I remember being in the ring trying to hear the direction of my corner, and just the chant of the crowd. I couldn't hear them. I got back to the corner. I was like, I couldn't hear what you were saying. Like, and I beat Joel, and that was the stadium went up in like a chorus of Oscar, and I was like, that was a pretty unforgettable moment. It's
an amazing sport where the rivalry between two people and the trash talk, like, it doesn't really happen in any other sport. Boxing, UFC, that sort of stuff. It's the only place it does happen, and it certainly creates a bigger audience for the fans, I suppose, a bigger audience in terms of fans. And touching on the boxing too, obviously boxing, we know the hard work that goes into it. You're preparing 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks before camps, and you've obviously gone out and then started these businesses. Hard work is in your DNA by the sounds of it.
Yeah, and it's something I've touched on before, and I always chuckle when I talk about it. But when I was 21, 22 years old, and I was going into meetings after just starting my business, I was only dealing with people, 40 to 60 years old. It's just the industry. And I just remember sitting out the front of meetings about to go in. I'd be so nervous and I'd be like, oh, what am I going to say? What if I forget what I'm doing? And blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, you know what? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if push comes to shove, you could knock everyone out in the room and just walk out. And I'd be like, that's never going to happen. I'm not a violent person at all. But it was just something that I would tell myself just to be like, I'm the man. They should be nervous, not me. And then I'd walk into the meeting and shake hands politely and do all my shit. But in the back of my head, it really it helped me to sort of have that confidence very early on.
And these people didn't know that they were one bad sentence away from getting knocked out.
Yeah, no, and they definitely weren't, and don't promote violence. But no, yeah, it was an interesting frame of mind, and it really helped me in those early days.
No, that's fantastic. We'll fast forward a little bit to your development side. You're very smart and nifty with, you've got your development, but then you've also got Ledlin Build. So you contract yourself. Is that how it works?
Yeah, exactly. So Ledlin Develop, they, that business buys the site, gets plans, permits, and then engages a builder, delivers the project, sells everything, settles it, and hopefully there's some money left at the end. But rather than engage a third-party builder to deliver the build contract, we engage Ledlin Build, which is my construction company as well. So it allows us to have, real close control over quality of the build, control over speed of the build, and more so recently, more now than ever, I guess, allows us to sort of remove some risk of administration or liquidation. So, builders are going broke every day of the week at the moment. And to be a developer, there's nothing worse than to be halfway through a build schedule with a third-party builder and they come to you and say, listen, we told you this was going to cost 22 million to build. We're halfway through and, it's really going to cost 28. So we're either going to go broke and you're going to have to get another builder in to finish it, which is going to cost you more, or we've got to renegotiate. So there's definitely some advantages to have an internal building company.
Yeah, certainly. It's a fickle business at times, like you said. Quitting or stopping halfway and all that can really be hard on you, and you sell these properties off the plan as well. So if that cost is going up, it means less money in your pocket. And at the end of the day, like, you're trying to create a nice community of commercial property owners, but ultimately you've got to create a bit of money for yourself too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a commercial game, of course, and I'm trying to earn a living, but I think, definitely having that control and in the recent years, having visibility over construction cost increase has been massive as well, because, anybody who's watched the news in the last 2 years has seen construction costs have gone through the roof, but to have the real-time insight into how quickly they're going up and what materials are going up compared to others, it's given us a clear competitive advantage as we moved through our construction schedules.
And you're very strong on when you're creating these things. You've just finished, or you're still finishing Springvale Business Park and Vermont Business Park, where I've bought one off you. Some of the stuff you're putting in there is very unique and very niche. You've got a car wash, dog wash, postal service, big terrace areas. What encourages you to put all these extra amenities in there?
To be honest, we're very fortunate that the industry is moving so quickly. It allows us to be able to innovate. It's, property development is one of the oldest traditions, oldest trades. But in recent times, with the rise of e-commerce, which was, I guess, exacerbated by COVID, at one point, you could only shop online. So it really transitioned the consumer to buying more online. And with that, there's been the emergence of a lot of young e-commerce businesses. And we've found our niche in focusing, in clearly focusing on that young entrepreneurial business owner or tenant. And with that, we're able to just provide what has been called by a few media companies Instagrammable finishes. So we like doing, black taps, polished concrete floors. We're doing electric sheer curtains as standard at Vermont. And like you said, communal rooftop terrace, outdoor eating areas, the car wash, dog wash. It's just catering to the demand of what the consumer really wants. And I'm very lucky that I have a young team, and our target market really is just an extension of us. So it's really easy to consider, like, fuck, what do I want? I want to be able to come out, on a morning, grab my coffee, maybe go do a few emails from the rooftop terrace when it's a sunny morning like this, or a Friday afternoon, grab a beer, or, I want to encourage collaboration and meet my neighbours and stuff. So whether it's bumping into each other on a Friday afternoon when we're cleaning our cars down in the car wash, or getting our mail from the mailroom, or whatever it might be, it's just, it's really easy to consider what will work when you're part of the target market.
And you're often a reflection of the people you hang around with. And like you just said, you're trying to build this great community where you may have 70, 80 businesses in there, and if they're all like-minded, they can then bounce off each other and take ideas from each other. So it's a great initiative that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the model too, and because I'm so passionate about that, it makes it a lot easier to plan and to do day to day. But like what we've seen at Springvale Business Park, there'll be 147 business owners in there once complete. I think there's 76 in there at the moment. And to see them collaborating, I go down there and there'll be a dozen guys on a sunny afternoon riding around on their electric scooters, and there's a bit of a mother's club going on with all the female entrepreneurs in there, because in the last couple of years they've either all had a baby or got a cavoodle. So there's a dog walking club and stuff like. It's just really cool to see, and they had a Christmas party last year that they invited us to, and there's 50, 60 of us, and we had someone playing music and a pig on a spit and stuff like that. And it's just really cool to see all these business owners. They're pumping each other up on social media and sharing each other's stuff. And it's just, it's really cool to be a part of.
Yeah, and you touched on the social media. Obviously, that's a big part of it. And it's probably not too common in the development industry, but you had your VIP launch night at the SB. That was a great night. It didn't feel like a business night. It just felt like blokes having drinks, I suppose. And
yeah. I mean, We've had a lot of success in recent years through social media indirectly. We don't often, or I don't think we've ever really gone to social media and said, "Hey, here's a unit. This is the price. It's for sale," or anything like that. I just share very openly what we're doing, and people reach out and be like, "Hey, I'd love to lease that, or I'd love to explore buying one of these, or whatever it might be." And we've our Vermont project. I think we sold. It's about $70 million worth of property in one day, and entire lead generation through social media. So, we launched our registration for that project at 10 o'clock, and by 10:06 we were full up and done.
In 6 minutes.
In 6 minutes, yeah. So
jeez.
It's definitely it's untapped by the wider developer market. It's an old industry. There's a lot of old guys that, I imagine they're sitting back with gold Rolexes on their boats. I'm not somewhere off the Caribbean right now, or in Italy or Greece or wherever, everything. But we're young, we're active, and I think the market's definitely responding to that, which is cool.
Certainly. And as you touched on, you're very vocal on your Instagram especially, and you often do Q&As, and like you will reply to 60 different Q&As, and they're all there. You got to tap through all the stories, and I'm intrigued every time I sit there. I read all of them and take a good intent in what you say. One of your big strong points that you're strong on is renting and buying. Obviously, the Australian dream is go up, get a deposit, save as much as you can, put it on a house, pay that off as quickly as you can. But you've gone a different route.
Yeah, I have, and I continue to do that. I won't do that forever. And I always try and pretense these conversations, and I hope you cut it up, mash it up, put it on social media and watch it blow up, just cutting out the important parts. But, I don't have anything against buying your home or owning your home. I think it's great for some people, and there's a lot of pros to it. But for me at the moment, the cons outweigh the pros. And really it comes down to, I think if you buy a home for investment purposes, you either end up with a not ideal home or a shitty investment. Because when you're looking for a home for yourself, there might be 100 things that you need to consider. Do you want to be in an apartment, townhouse, house and land? Do you have a dog? Where do you work? Where do your friends live? Where do your parents live? Geographically, how's that going to work? You want 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms? What's going to be ideal for you? Do you want a home office? There's 100 things that you need to look at when you are trying to find the ideal home for Jaidyn. And then when you're looking for an investment, it's a similar, 100 checklist point criteria. Do you want something with capital growth? Do you want something with yield? Are you looking for depreciation benefits because you're a high income earner? Do you want multiple properties? And you've got these 200 checklists, 100 point checklists. What are the chances of those 100 adding up? 1 in 100 homes that you look at will be good for investment, and 1 in 100 will be good for your home. For those, the chances of those to line up, I think is very slim. And then aside to that, from an investment point of view, I just think there's so much better opportunity to put your money than in residential housing at the moment. And for me, with my business opportunities, it's a no-brainer. But for many people, and like you've found, there's higher yielding opportunities for your money than there is in a house. And you buy a house now, and then you get married, so you need a bigger house. Then you have a kid, so you need to move again. And I think as a young person, particularly when our lives are maybe less established than people of our parents' generation, and their age, I think it doesn't make sense to me.
No, and you pay that much money in stamp duty moving around, and that's probably the key aspect of renting. That's very good. You can move wherever you want to be. So if you've got work in Northcote or you've got work in Bayswater, you can sort of move with the times, which is really handy.
Exactly. You know, our life circumstances change so much more rapidly when younger, and I'm just about to move into my 5th house in 5 years.
You'd be sick of
about
moving, surely.
Oh, mate, and just no, I'm not, because I get like a white glove removal service. I go to work in the morning and I come home to a different house in the afternoon, and like everything's done, everything's packed back up. So it's not too bad. But from a financial point of view, every time you buy, you pay stamp duty, which is massive. Every time you sell, you've got to pay an agent and marketing fees and stuff like that. And you've got solicitors, conveyancers on both sides of it. So it's sort of 7.5% to 8% when you buy and sell a house in terms of what it needs to go up just to break even. So not to mention, you know, the mortgage costs of entering and breaking mortgages and stuff like that. So it's just inefficient to buy and sell properties, really. So if you're not going to be buying a home to move in, to settle down for at least, 5 to 7 years, I think that you're better off renting.
And obviously the way that the world's forecasting at the moment, we've had interest rate rises every bloody second month at the moment, and it's making it very hard. I was listening to another podcast you did, and you said you're at a summit with some economists.
Economists.
Economists, there you go, talking. What did you take out of that?
To be honest, what I take out of it is nobody really knows. Yeah, that's probably everything that these guys say is like, they're almost like scientists when they are hypothesizing. You know, it's a best guess, and it's dependent on so many different factors that could go either way. So I think, and what my mentors advise me in times like this is don't be too quick to act. Don't take too much risk. Don't take on, debt that you can't service in a higher interest rate environment if it's not fixed interest. So, I mean, there's so many different elements to the economy, and I think if we're speaking like particularly to property prices, they really can't pull back because construction costs have gone too high now, and the construction costs can't really come back just because of the way that Australia's set up with importing, and because of the cost of labour in Australia now, and how we deliver our construction builds. So, I'm a huge advocate for don't be buying for, the 1 to 2 year outlook. Like I said, it's inefficient to buy and sell properties every 2 years. I think you need to be buying properties that you can afford to hold for 5 to 7. And if an amazing opportunity comes up to exit in a shorter time period than that, great. But I think you need to be prepared to hold for a longer period of time. And if you're looking at the current environment with that view, it's a fantastic time to buy when everybody's nervous, like we all do it. The market's going crazy. You can't go to a Sunday barbecue without talking about how hard it is to get into the property market because prices are going through the roof and stuff like that. That's when we all try to buy, when we're competing with everyone else. Then the market cools off, everybody gets scared, and there's nobody showing up to auctions, there's nobody bidding at EOIs and stuff like that. Well, then that's the time when we should be buying, but we all get scared at the same time and we miss out on those opportunities. I think there's opportunities in the market for sure at the moment.
That's it. And people have every right to be scared, I suppose. Like,
absolutely,
they're dumping a lot of money into this one investment, and it could send them bust. It could do whatever. But like you said, I'm a big advocate for just jumping in, getting your foot in the door, and it'll take off from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now you're only 30 odd. Now you're 30 years old.
31.
31, yeah. And it's been well documented in the paper and that about the collection of properties you've been able to go. Is it 105 properties? It's probably more now.
To be honest, we buy and sell pretty rapidly. So my portfolio goes up and down quite quickly. There'll be a time in a few months from now at one point where I'll be holding 70 odd properties in one project, but then pretty quickly I'll begin selling those down as well. So it is very up and down. There's a handful of properties that I hold long term, and I keep them unencumbered because I like to have something as a bit of a nest egg there. And it's not the most aggressive wealth building strategy, but for me, I'm building wealth through my other businesses. So to be able to move some properties just into a personal portfolio, it's not massive, but it's got no debt, and they pay me a good income that can be there for a rainy day. So yeah,
no, it's very smart. And we talked about Ledlin Developments, Ledlin Build. Obviously, your name is all over everything. How do you go with delegating? Are you a really hands-on leader? Are you more a sit back, let others do the work?
Early days, I was very hands-on. I might be what you would call a micromanager. I might have been. But more recently, in the more recent years, like I just found I've built a team now that I trust, and I think that is more powerful than anything when you're talking about delegation. Early days, I built a team who were incredibly capable, but I didn't bond with them as well as I do my team now. I hired for the wrong reasons. I was young, a bit naive, and I was like, that guy's going to be incredible. I'll hire him, or she's going to be amazing. I'll hire her. But I guess character-wise, we didn't just align perfectly. And there was a point, it was 4 or 5 years ago now, where I nearly had to start fresh with my team just because we were delivering great work and the business was going great, but I was just getting to the point where I was like, just not really enjoying it. So downsized the team and then started building up again. And, now the 6 employees I've got are incredible, and, we're best of friends. We're like a family, and it makes it much easier to delegate. And then again, in very recent times with the launch of G Up, my time I've had to value a little bit higher. And with that, I've just been forced to delegate things that I probably wouldn't have 12 months ago.
We'll go into G Up now. Obviously, it's a startup. It's a vodka mixed drink. Been on the market for 5-6 months now.
Yeah, we launched in February. So yeah, I think we're in our 6th month of trading now.
What was that process like getting that beverage ready to go? Obviously, there's lots of standards and regulations in terms of food and drink in this country, and I'm sure it would be a hassle. How was that planning process?
Yeah, I mean, alcohol is, one of the most, or it probably is the most regulated substance in Australia. So unbeknownst to me when getting into it, I was a bit naive to it because it's brand new to the industry. So it was interesting because Troy, one of our best mates, he came up with this idea a few years ago that he wanted to start this alcohol business, and he was working at it for almost 18 months, and it was just over 2 years ago now. It was at a birthday party of mine, and it was late at night, and we were in no state to be talking about business, but we were. And the boys and I were in a spa, and Troy was like, guys, I'm going to throw in the towel with the alcohol business. It's just got too many things on my plate. It's more challenging. He was having a real hard time with licensing and stuff like that. We said, no, we'll give you a hand. You can't, you've come too far. And he's like, nah, I don't want any handouts. And he's like, oh, what if we just went into business and we started it together? So then and there, it might have been early hours of the morning. And we said, we'd had a few, and we said, yeah, we'll do it. And the next afternoon when we all got up, I was like, are we actually, was that piss talk last night? Are we actually doing this? Like, no, we're doing it. So it was about 18 months from there before we launched, and quite an incredible journey of how we're going to set this business up, who's going to be involved, who's going to be doing what. And, in an industry where nobody had any clue what the fuck they were doing, it's just an amazing learning curve. And, we've had really cool success really early on. We're set to celebrate our first $1 million month in July. So it was to be a side business that the boys will just, chuck a bit of cash in and we can drink our own drink, and it'll be a cool thing to do, to now, it's a substantial business, and got pretty high hopes for it.
And you've all been successful in your own businesses, different ventures in life. To come together and be working with, was it 4 of your best mates?
Yeah.
How's that dynamic been?
To be honest, at the start, it was hell. Like, it was really challenging just because we hadn't done that before. We all come from businesses where we didn't have, business partners, like we would in this business. So at the start, it was very challenging, and we put the work in. We had, some really hard conversations. We're such a close friendship group, which I think definitely helped. If we weren't such great friends, either the business opportunity we would have had to let go, or the friendship would have sort of fallen apart. But the way it's worked out, it's just brought us all closer together. So we had some hard conversations at the start, set some ground rules, and just sort of really learnt to work with each other. And now, to be honest, it doesn't even feel like business, especially we go away, we travel often for these events that we're doing when we're activating stores around the country and stuff. And it does not feel like work at all. Like, we have to pull ourselves up. We're like, guys, we need to take it easy. We got to remember this is business.
You hear so many horror stories about working with mates and or going into business with mates and family, and how you can lose your friendships. But it's really awesome to hear the other side of the story, where you continue to thrive with each other and create something that's going to be quite special.
To be honest, like in my experience and what I've seen and what I've been involved in, if you go into business with an okay mate, you'll either lose the business or you'll lose the friendship. But if you're going to business with, really good friends that you can have direct and hard conversations with, then I think like that's what you should be doing, because there's nobody you can trust more. There's nobody who's going to work harder and care more about the outcome than your close mates. So I'll be negotiating deals and I'll have in the back of my head the boys' sons and stuff like that, and I'm thinking that's pretty much my nephew. They call me uncle, and like that's playing in the back of my mind, and it definitely drives me to work harder. And it's just it's more exciting to be around when you're doing it with people really close to you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what took you down the vodka mixer path? Not beer, not gin, not scotch. What took you down this line?
It's interesting because I have to be so careful about what I say, because I know like the regulators see everything that we're doing at the moment. But with what I can say is vodka is so much cleaner than any other spirit that you mentioned there, cleaner than beer without the hops and stuff like that. So the idea was the 5 founders behind the business lead very busy lives. We don't have time to be hungover. So we created a drink that was cleaner. It was, I can't say healthier, but it had less harmful substances, so less sugar, less of artificial nasties and stuff like that, to create a clean drink that was as easy on the taste buds as it is on the next morning after.
I was very fortunate. You sent me out a box of them, and I tried a few. My favourite was probably the raspberry one.
Oh, yeah?
That went down really well.
Yep.
I'm not encouraging drinking either, but this was a day off in the off season. But no, the taste is amazing. And are they in most stores now?
Yeah, so we're right at that point of rolling out. So I think our plan is to be in 2,000 stores before Christmas. At the moment, it is very select stores. We just haven't been able to supply, keep up with the demand. So, but
it's not a bad issue.
Yeah, it is. It's been such a bizarre start to a business to have so much demand from day one and have supply being the limiting factor. So, but we're increasing supply and we're rolling out nationally at the moment.
And you're someone who likes to set goals and little tasks. I watched your Instagram videos. There was times where you were having cold showers every morning, and you're trying different supplements, and what was it? Goat colostrum.
Colostrum. Do you know what colostrum is?
No idea.
It's the first bit of lactate out of a mother goat's nipple. So it's like this creamy. Yeah, I'm describing it for the audience. They're all crawling up now.
I'm going to take that because I'm not going to taste it.
Yeah, no. It's it's the first bit of milk that comes out of a nipple before the milk, like the creamy pussy stuff.
And what benefits is it supposed to have?
Supposed to have massive immune system benefits. Really good for gut health, really good for hormone regulation and stuff like that. So I went down 6 months of like just incredibly health focused. I did 6 months with no alcohol. So this was before G-Up. I said to the boys, I'm like, I'm not going to drink until we launch this business. So it was almost like a motivator too to bring that, fast forward that. So no alcohol, no coffee, no drugs of any sort, not even fucking Panadol or Nurofen or anything like that. Just cut, every nasty, moved to like no artificials in my toothpaste, deodorant, like everything,
that
shampoo.
Extreme,
yeah. And then I had about 13 to 14 different supplements that I was taking a handful of times a day. Did my bloods every 6 weeks to monitor my blood levels, and monitored my screen time, had structured sun exposure, water goals, cold showers, meditation, just went like as hard as I could with everything, just to, I guess, see if I could take my health to another level. And it was something where I was like, I can do this for 6 months. I don't think I can sustain this forever, like ticking all these individual boxes every day. But I was like, I can raise my standard to the next level and see how that holds me moving forward. And yeah, I'm definitely grateful. It was a really cool experience.
I think that's a great indicator, just listening to that, and especially for the listener too, about how disciplined you are. And if you put your mind to something, you'll go 100% at it. And obviously that's why you've been able to succeed in 2 different businesses so far. We'll talk about goals before we got onto the colostrum. Where do you see G-Up in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? What's the forecast?
To be honest, I think in 3 years we will be a very close rival to who you would imagine our biggest competitor is at the moment. And like we're already on their map. We have people that are doing business with them or at their events, and they've told us that they're in an Uber with these reps from our competitor, like, and they're on Instagram watching our stuff, being like, fuck, look what they've done, because, you know, we started that hashtag. Well, we didn't start it. Somebody started it, and we sort of rolled with it, like the hashtag fuck cruiser movement and stuff like that. And like there was heaps of our audience were doing, you know, were tipping out cruisers and throwing them in the bin and stuff like that. And like they were seeing all that. And so I think it's funny early days because we're a small business and we have a really strong following, which is amazing. But I think in 2 or 3 years we'll be doing, you know, their numbers, or if not bigger. So that's where we've set our sights to.
And you obviously, to beat them, you'll have to take it overseas. Have you got avenues for that, or is that something you're still figuring out on the go?
Yeah, we've formed relationships with New Zealand first, and we've actually got some relationships in Indonesia. So we're exploring that early days, but Australia's a massive market. You know, we drink a lot in Australia, so we just want to get our foothold here first, and you know, walk before we run. But yeah, we'll definitely take it international in time.
And we're speaking just before we went on air about your little cavoodles at home. They're always getting a mention and getting a show on your stories. What was the reason behind getting those?
To be honest, I think it was almost as much a mental health play as it was like a random, I guess, purchase, because I went to my solicitor puts on a luncheon every now and again, and it's just a heap of old rich white dudes drinking wine, and me just swirling wine, pretending I know what I'm doing. But one of them was some sort of like holistic health professional, and he made a few examples about how the Western health system has gone too far in the direction of you need medication, you need this, you need that. And one example he used was, he was like, you know, you're not suffering from nausea, you just need to chew gum and walk outside or something like that. And that went over my head. But then he's like, you're not suffering from depression, you just need a dog. And I was like, I'm not suffering from depression, but if a dog's going to make me happier, maybe that's something I should look at. And yeah, bought a cavoodle, and it was the best thing I ever did. I think we had Willow, which is the older one, and which Willow Avenue at Springvale Business Park is a street named after her, which is
unbelievable.
Yeah,
I didn't realise that.
Yeah. And then 12 months later, we got a second one. So you know, she could have a friend, which is Franklin.
And like I was saying earlier, I was petrified of dogs going up. I couldn't go near them. I'd go to a mate's house. If you got a dog, can you put it outside? And it wasn't until my family actually bought a little cavoodle, and I think they're the best dogs to start with because they just show so much love, and they're so gentle.
They are amazing.
It certainly helped, and you can have as bad a day as you want. And you walk in that door and they greet you like you're the best thing that's ever happened to them. And yeah, it's such an amazing thing. Obviously, you said it was a little bit of a little impulse not an impulse purchase, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. And you also love your cars. You've got a few cars here and there, and you've got aspirations to buy bigger and better ones.
Yeah, definitely a car fan. To be honest, I haven't pursued cars as much as I probably could have. It's been like a little bit of a discipline thing for me. You've been like, I'll hit this goal, I'll buy this car, I'll hit another goal, I'll buy another car, and then it's like, you know, do I need more cars yet? Is it going to distract me from, you know, my other focuses? So, yeah, I think I haven't bought a car in a couple of years now. So, might be almost time to buy something else.
Perfect. What's your go-to? What would be your dream car?
Oh, I think my next car will be, I think it's got to be a 488. I've been talking about it for so long now, and it's been on the vision board for a little while, but, I don't think I have a dream car as such long-term. I think it's just being able to have a dream garage, you know. Yeah. Something Rolls Royce for the weekend. Yeah. Some track cars for racing. So yeah, it's definitely an expensive hobby, but I enjoy it. And
you've got your girlfriend, Jessie. You two both seem to be pretty successful. She seems pretty successful at what she does. Where did you two meet? And
we met in a bar of all places, which is, I feel like I hear Tinder and Instagram is the only how did you meet story nowadays. But we met, I think 6 years ago. We're in a bar / nightclub thing, and we're having a bit of a dance. I asked if I could buy her a drink, and she mistakenly said yes, and we became friends after that. We talked for a few months, and then I think maybe 6 months after talking, we went on a date, and the rest is history. We're recently engaged, so
congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah, but she's an amazing girl.
And you both seem to align very strongly. You both seem very motivated, very determined, driven. It's incredible to find someone so similar, I suppose.
Yeah, I think like we definitely have similar nature, and like you say, she's very driven, very ambitious. But I think environment plays a massive part on it too, and I think maybe it's a little bit underrated. Being in, when you put people of similar nature into a positive environment, you really bounce off each other. And early days, Jesse would be like, wow, you work a lot and you've got massive goals and stuff like that. And now, like, I'm like, you're doing a lot of business, like you're doing some big numbers and like you've got some big goals too. So you really just, you feed off each other and you support each other. And I think like, yeah, it's definitely been cool to look back on that too.
And you two have recently started a podcast together as well?
So Jessie has her podcast. She's welcomed me unbeknownstly to me, but she's welcomed me on her podcast a couple of times. So yeah, she's had some pretty cool guests on there too.
Beautiful. And you had a bit of practice for today, which is good.
Yeah.
We wrap it up there. We've obviously spoken about all different avenues, and like I said, I couldn't give you more credit for the success you've had, and it's no surprise with your determination, your willingness to work hard, and ability to throw yourself 100% into what you do. Yeah. Can't leave without touching on the sponsors. Ringers Western, obviously I got their what's this, a sweater on? Or
no, you got to get me one of those.
Quarter zipper, yeah.
I'll have one of those, yeah.
You could take one of these. I actually left the little stockpile of them in the mother car.
Oh, no.
That's all right. Yeah, obviously thank you to Ringers Western. If you haven't already, head on to ringerswestern.com and check out them. They've got an amazing range of clothes, and they also sell coolers. They've had collaborations with Bundaberg Rum. They've done some amazing stuff. Might have to get a collaboration with G next.
Absolutely.
Thank you also to Braden and Roland Media. It's obviously a great setup they've got here. How do you like the van, Oscar?
Yeah, mate. Unbelievable. I haven't done a podcast from a van before, but it was not what I was expecting, but it's definitely served its purpose. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's an amazing setup, and thanks for that, Braden. Before we leave, I've got to ask you one question. We ask all the guests. You're having your next birthday, so next big birthday, to say it's your 40th. This is forecasting down the track a lot, but money isn't an issue. You can get 2 acts to come play from anywhere in the world. You've got a 7 to 10 slot and a 10 to 8 slot. Which 2 musicians or acts are you getting to play?
Whoa.
It's a big question.
I wish I'd done some homework on this one. What are your 2?
Geez, no one's actually asked me that yet.
Oh, well, I'm just buying myself some time. So,
no, I'd probably start with like a Coldplay. A few guests have said Coldplay, so I reckon that'd be really good to set the mood 7 till 10, and then I'd certainly have a DJ on, whether it was Calvin Harris, David Guetta, Dom Dollar, Martin Garrix. I'd certainly finish with that.
I reckon I'd start with like Ricky Gervais or Kevin Hart, like a comedian.
You'd have a comedian.
100%. Yeah. Like 2, you don't want 2 musicians.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, that's innovative. Yeah.
Yeah. So I reckon definitely a comedian to start, and then like you said, a DJ, bit of house music just to finish the night off. There we go. That's it.
Oh, beautiful.
Lock it in.
I really like that. We haven't had anyone say a comedian yet, but I think that'd be a great start. Thank you again for coming on, Oscar. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, and looking forward to my factory being finished.
Absolutely, mate. It's on time. Don't worry.
It's on time.
It's on time, and the build's within budget. So
yeah, beautiful. I've been waiting just for that next email saying, yo, this much more money. So
it'll come.
I'll wait until that comes. But until then, hope everything else succeeds and you continue to do as well as you are going.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you to everyone for watching. If you haven't already, head onto the socials, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and like, share, follow, all that sort of stuff. I really appreciate it, and it helps the podcast continue to grow. So until then, we'll see you then.